Welcome to Our Certain Point of View, where your hosts Jim and Tim will bring you weekly discussions about the Star Wars universe. Our Certain Point of View is a fan-based podcast and has no connections with Disney, Lucasfilm, or any of their subsidiaries.
We're recording.
We are.
All right, I am Jim.
And I'm Tim.
And we are here to discuss The Mandalorian. Finally, we have made it to what Disney is calling Chapter 1, which is the first episode of the series, The Mandalorian, and it is really the main motive factor behind creating this podcast. So today, while it is our episode 10 podcast, it is really, it's really the beginning for us, isn't it?
Chapter 1.
I think so. Yeah. So, Tim, let's start right, this is what I want to ask you right from the get-go. Well, do we got news? I'm so excited I just want to launch right into, there it is, right into The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But I guess we need to stay with our form. There's really no news to cover, I don't think.
Nothing big has come since. We're not going to have our Mandalorian section at the end, like usual, so I will say this. Episode 2, or what we're assuming will be called Chapter 2.
Chapter 2
comes out Friday.
According to the post-looking thing that Disney Plus put out with their dates, they are just calling them chapters 1 through 8. So yeah, so Chapter 2 comes out Friday. So that's our news. I asked Shasta Mandalorian if he had anything that we could shout out for him, and he said he did not. He said that he's completely satisfied with the life he has lived. And his entire joy is found in just engineering this program for us.
Yeah, that's the way I understood it.
And that was what I wanted to hear from Shasta. So thank you, Shasta. Any other news? Let's just head on the countdowns. I just want to get to The Mandalorian. I will say this. If you like the show, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. A lot of y'all have been doing that, and I appreciate it. We've had a big bump in listeners already. And that's very, very exciting. So Tim and I are committed to trying to give you the best show we can. And this is just exciting. Today, what is today's date? The 11th, November what?
November 14th.
It's the 14th of November.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, that means we get our second episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 2. Let's do our countdowns, though.
Yeah. Now, that's not all that's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow,
November 15th
is the release of Jedi Fallen Order.
And I feel like I need to shell out, what is that, $60?
Yeah.
Yeah,
60,
that's a lot
60
of money,
to 70.
man.
Yeah, it's up there. If you pre-ordered, my understanding is GameStop might be holding an event tonight after close, where you can actually go and pick up. So pre-order people, you already know that. Not pre-order people.
That's me.
You'll have to wait until Friday.
I did get Days Gone for PS4, and that arrived yesterday, and I got up at 4 a.m. this morning and started playing it. Side note.
Yep.
I'm also losing my voice, so that's why I kind of sound the way I do. And I got a nice hot cup of tea here with honey, so from time to time you're going to hear a disturbing sipping sound.
Yeah.
That's me trying to be able to talk. All right, so we're one day away from Jedi Fallen Order.
Hey.
What?
You spilled my drink.
This little one's not worth your trouble. Wait a minute. No, that was from the episode.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. Rise of Skywalker, December 19th. How many days? 35.
Rise of Skywalker, 35 days away. It is getting so close.
Oh, that's just over a month away.
Yeah.
Clone Wars, Season 7 at the most.
At the most, 107 days away.
Who's directing it? Who's in charge of Clone Wars? Say Dave Filoni.
Oh, it's Dave Filoni.
It's Dave Filoni,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk about him a little bit more here. Star Wars Day, May the 4th, is 172 days away, and Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, California, August 27th, 2020.
287 days away.
87 days. Still no news on Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, other than it exists. And now we are done with our countdowns, and we are ready to talk about Chapter 1, The Mandalorian.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little meta first. Let's talk about Disney release. Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Because I got up, Tim and I discussed, when are we going to watch this the first time? I'm waiting until midnight. And when midnight, November 12th hits, I'm going to watch this thing. And then fortunately, Tim contacted me before midnight and said, might as well sleep in because they weren't going to release until 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe.
That's what it said.
And I didn't test that theory because at about 6:30 I got up and watched it.
That's funny because they actually released at 5:30 a.m.
So
yeah, I had it at 5:30.
So yeah, I watched it at 6:30 a.m. on Tuesday. Then I tried to watch it again. Actually, I just tried to open it up on my computer about 2 or 3 hours later, and it shut down.
Yep, Disney Plus was down for a while.
Yeah, so I guess they got overwhelmed because it wouldn't open on my phone or on my computer.
Yeah, and some people are saying, well, they didn't know it was coming. Everyone knew what was coming. The difference is Disney hasn't had a streaming service before, so what happens? They have to learn how to manage it, and the only way to do that is through the experience. So they've had the experience, and now we haven't had any issues since.
That having been said, by Tuesday night, yeah, no problem. I was at home with the kids watching, my youngest watched The Mandalorian with me. My oldest watched The Aristocats with me. Yeah, everybody wants to be a cat.
Yeah, we went Jungle Book with the youngest, too.
I went Guardians of the Galaxy. What else did I watch? Oh, they got Black Hole. The Black Hole. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
You have? You're a youngin' to have seen that one.
Yeah.
It's worth watching if you haven't seen it. But
I
think the rollout actually went really well.
It did. It did. And my plan for The Mandalorian was to watch after school with my oldest. And because we weren't sure how exactly it was going to go, I watched it earlier, around the 6:40 hour, somewhere in the 6 o'clock hour. I think it was around 6:40 I started watching it. So I watched it a little earlier because I wanted to make sure it was age appropriate. I found out that for one of my younger kids, not age appropriate. For my oldest, it was okay. So I did watch it early, and then I watched it around 3-ish with my oldest, and then I watched it around 8 or 9 with my wife. So we've had a few viewings.
So yeah, I've seen it in all 4 times at this point.
And it's working, right? Everything is fine at this point with Disney Plus, just so everybody's...
Yeah, I'm liking the service so far.
Yep.
All right, so some of the meta aspects. First of all, let's get down to brass tacks. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being I didn't like it, 5 being it was amazing, where do you place this?
Are we ranking this with other Star Wars?
Not
or are we
just as a
on
show,
its own?
Entertainment.
5.
5. I give it a 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I kind of broke this down into different categories. So this episode was written by Jon Favreau, and it was directed by Dave Filoni. Yep. So we got kind of the all-star team there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we saw that and just how good this episode was. And yes, I am going to gush over this. I don't think Tim and I are the type of fans to, no matter what comes out, to say it's good. So this is sincere. I really was this excited. I think Tim does have some issues with part of the episode. I have a little bit of issues here and there, but in general, incredible.
Yeah, just a couple little things here and there, but nothing major. Absolutely all right, 5.
So we got the different aspects I wanted to talk about: the music, the effects, the acting, and the story. So as we walk through the episode, we'll talk about all of these things and whatever comes to mind. I will say this: it was full-on fan service. There were so many Easter eggs throughout this episode, and they're not like buried Easter eggs. I don't know what makes something an Easter egg so much as just a nod. Oh my gosh, Salacious Crumb. Yeah. Whatever that creature is called, them eating those, that was awesome. There's so much of that throughout the series.
Yeah, and they did really, but it wasn't. It was there, but it was natural.
Yeah,
it fit. It was part of the Star Wars universe. And
Very
it
well
just
said.
Fit, and almost the way that the ET creatures existed in the Senate.
Yeah, it's just
in the prequels, like it was okay. Like you see that, and you're like, oh, that okay. Yeah, they could have been from there. Like it's okay. It was natural, but it was all there. There was so much fun stuff happening throughout the show, including in the background. Now, well, go ahead. We'll get on to the...
Well, I think we want to just go ahead and start.
So the very beginning...
Yeah.
Well, did you want to talk more about those specific aspects first?
Well, I think we're going to talk about them as we go throughout it, because there's different times where I think the music stands out, different times where I think the effects stand out, and so on.
I was caught earlier. Jim came in, and I was listening to
the soundtrack.
He was like, "Oh, are you watching it?" And I said, "No, just listening to the soundtrack, so I've got a lot to say about that too. So the very, very beginning, the first thing we see is the Disney Plus icon, and then we see what I assume is a collection of helmets and droids, all made out of Beskar. That's the way I saw that. Like just that shiny silver, that chrome look. I assume they're all Beskar.
Well, you also mentioned to me that you thought it was a nod to the other franchise.
Well, in kind of the way, I think I'm hoping it's going to be Star Wars new, like this is how, or Disney's new, this is how we introduce Star Wars stuff, the way that Marvel does with their comic strips.
That's what, you said that to me, and that I was like, oh, that does kind of got a Marvel feel to it, the way they flip through the different helmets. But I didn't think about the Beskar.
It is just beautiful.
Aren't we glad we listened to last week's podcast where we talked about Beskar?
Yeah.
And how it made Mandalore important, even though it wasn't, big or necessarily rich in other resources, but Beskar made it important. And here we are, very first episode. That's what we're looking at.
Can I?
Absolutely not.
Can I give one of my concerns about the show that's throughout?
Absolutely. What's your concern?
This is Beskar.
Yeah, it is.
Go ahead and check it out. Did you notice both people who tried to verify that it was Beskar, they did one thing.
Scratched it.
They rubbed their thumb over it. Just slid their thumb over it, and they're like, oh, it is Beskar.
It is Beskar.
So, and they were both Mandalorians, so maybe there's something else there that, I don't know what they're actually...
What the guy in the bar scratched his armor.
Well, that was different. He goes, is this real? And then scratched him, but they never verified or anything. He was just being a jerk.
So that let's
go talk about that guy.
Let's talk about Ice Planet whatever.
Yeah, we don't know names of planets. That was
interesting.
We'll find out, I guess. But
and so much of this material is new. So even the Wikipedias, and there's so many fans out there that immediately fill in the blanks. But all this is there's so much that's new here. All right, so we start with our protagonist, I guess you'd call him. Maybe. The Mandalorian on this ice planet, and we find out he's on a mission. He's got a bounty, and he's going after a guy who is a Mithril. Now they never give his name.
Nope.
Apparently, his race or species is Mithril.
I assume you see his name on the bounty puck. We'll talk about pucks in a second, but there's flashing above it. I don't know if that's cost or.
I can't read that.
Yeah,
but that's him. He says that's me. So. What's interesting to me, so we go into this bar, very Cantina-esque, as apparently all bars are in the Star Wars galaxy, which I like because that's kind of true.
Yeah.
And these guys are roughing up this seemingly harmless blue guy, and what are they talking about doing to him? They're
taking
talking about
him apart,
harvesting his organs, his glands. This reminds me of, you know what happened to Greedo? After Han kills him.
Oh, no.
They harvested him to create a drink. Rhodians are actually valued, what's the guy's name? Wooher? The guy who owns the cantina. It's W-U-H-E-R.
Is this an in-character thing again?
Well, this is just the backstory. If you go on the Wikipedia or StarWars.com, well, it's Wikipedia because it's Legends. They talk about I think it's just pronounced Wur.
Okay.
Anyway, he takes Greedo and he renders him into a drink for the Hutts. And apparently the Rhodians are desired for they're tasty.
Interesting.
So apparently the Mithrils are tasty too, I guess. I don't know what they're planning on doing with this dude. But of course, we got kind of a bait and switch here. We see these ruffians, and we see a bounty hunter come in the room, and it kind of looks like initially maybe he's there for the ruffians, but he's not there for the ruffians at all.
No. So first thing, he walks in, and the guy yells at him right away. Right, that ruffian just yells at him.
You spilled my drink.
You spilled my drink. And it actually took me. It wasn't until my third watch that I noticed it didn't blow his drink over when he opened the door.
No.
He had spilled it earlier and was just...
He did.
Throwing a fit.
Which leads me to a question, why is this guy wanting to start a fight with a Mandalorian?
Well, and he even refers to him, I feel like this guy is just... And I have that here, too.
Because he's trying to start a fight. There's no doubt about it.
Hey, Mando.
Yeah, he knows.
Right? He doesn't even call him... He doesn't even say Mandalorian. It seems like...
I found this an odd choice.
He's just disrespectful.
Maybe he's dumb.
Well, I think he's just...
Dumb.
He's just a rage monster. He's just just wants to fight anyone he can fight as much as he can. I
guess that's the deal. You always want to fight the toughest guy in the room kind of mentality.
That's what
and when a Mandalorian walks in, that's the toughest guy in the room, I guess. But yeah, for whatever reason, he intentionally picks a fight with the Mandalorian, who's at this point we still haven't been told his name.
Correct.
Yeah, so meaning at the end of chapter 1, we don't know this guy's name. So the bartender tries to soothe things by giving the guy a free drink, and that's when all heck breaks loose.
Well, the Mandalorian doesn't let him get his drink.
No, he stops it. And then he elbows the dude, knocks out the dude against the bar. But was the Mandalorian going to drink with his helmet on?
I don't think he had any intention of drinking. I think
but he did. He kind of walked up to the bar as if he was going to order.
He was just measuring the room.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
That's what you call situational awareness, kids.
Yeah, ninja style.
Ninja style. So, I'll tell you. So I watched this. Like I said, it was like 6:30 in the morning. I'm getting ready for work, and I'm watching it and getting ready at the same time. Thank you, Bluetooth headphones. And I see them. He breaks dude's arm, and then stabs the guy in the back with his own knife. And then he grappling hooks the other guy, and he gets chopped in two by the door. And I immediately text him. I say, maybe not good for kids. And I mean little kids by this. Like my 13-year-old's fine with this, but
same with me.
Yeah, but like if I had a 7 or 8-year-old, I'm like thinking, no, probably maybe not.
No.
So I was a little bit taken aback in a good way by the level of violence. I don't know what I expected when you make a show about Mandalorians.
Well, and I'll tell you this,
but they set the stage.
For even an 8-year-old-ish, because I have kids in varying ages, and my oldest is fine, and one of my kids who's in that 8 to 10 range, I plan on watching it.
Yeah.
But just skipping a couple of scenes.
Yeah, because it's not.
It's not like throughout they can't. So if you've seen the show, once you've watched it, you can watch it. Pace it out and watch certain scenes and skip a couple scenes and just explain, hey, there was a fight. He won and got his bounty. And
he's not afraid to use deadly force.
You can leave it at that and just move on, and they're okay with it.
Chop dude in half.
Yeah.
No, don't say that. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. Squid Man.
Maybe don't say the chop. Especially because that guy was fleeing.
Yeah, there is that aspect too.
He was fleeing. At that point there was not really he did attack him. Like they surrounded him, attacked him, and at that point he was just.
But the guy was leaving.
But he was leaving.
Yeah.
But that guy started it.
He started it, and I guess he had the whole.
The whole he had it coming thing, but he was definitely fleeing. He roped him, and then the guy pulled a gun on him. Yeah.
And at that point, he. Why do you think he shot the door instead of just shooting the guy? Just because it's cooler?
I guess so.
It was pretty awesome. That was all right. So then we find out that he's actually there for the mithril. He puts down the puck. The guy tries to bribe him, and he gives a great line: "I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold." Yeah. And he puts his hand on his blaster. That was a great line.
Yeah, it was. So at this point, I've got something for you.
What you got?
Bounty pucks are cool.
Bounty pucks are cool. We've never seen these before.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
This is and I like when he later goes to see Grief. Carl Weathers' character.
Grief Karga.
Yeah, and he pulls out the little pile of bounty pucks, but we'll get there.
No, he pulls out the tracking fobs. We will get there.
They both. Yeah. The Mandalorian pulls out the fobs, and Grief Karga.
Oh yeah, he's got his little thing of pucks.
He's got bond jumper, blah blah blah.
All right, so we're running through. He's got that.
Dun dun dun.
Obviously, at this point, this thing's like, well, the Mithril's like, I guess I'm going to go along with this guy because it's going to go one way or the other.
This is the first point, by the way, where I really noticed the music, and it's in the first few moments. They come in with these pipes, and it sounds almost like an oboe or almost like a weird pan flute type thing going on. I like the music throughout this show.
The music throughout is really good. I will say
it gets a little distracting here and there, but in general, I thought it was really well done.
Yes. And I got to pull I'm going to have to pull the soundtrack and kind of make my own playlist just for listening, because some of it is very much built for the show and doesn't just play on its own. where some of the tracks really play well on their own. But like some of them, like the big action scenes, you just have a lot of stuff going on.
Yes.
And they work well in the show,
sounds.
but not so much in the
car.
Yeah.
Unless you got a dramatic drive, which maybe you do. I don't know. So I think we can kind of cut to, he goes out, he meets a Cubasian.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the most famous Cubasian so far? We talked about him on episode 2 of our podcast.
Oh, you did. Yeah.
Grinden's a Cubasian. He's the guy with the long snout who they meet outside the Millennium Falcon. But this is a different Cubasian. Yeah. I assume it's a different Cubasian, unless that guy's everywhere, man.
Snout looks shorter.
He is the man in black. He's everywhere, man.
Sometimes.
Maybe, well, this is years later. Shorter. Maybe it gets smaller as he grows older. This is going weird directions. All right, so that guy gets him a land speeder.
Yeah, no droids.
No droids.
Interesting right away to find out he doesn't like droids.
Yep, so he ends up on that kind of clunky land speeder. They make it out to his ship. What type of ship is that?
Who's the taxi driver?
He was from the TV show.
From all kinds of TV shows. He does all kinds of like...
It's
here and there.
He's a big character actor.
He's a big guy.
Yeah,
he's
literally a big character.
Big guy. Brian Posehn, yeah. He's on like Big Bang Theory. He's a geologist on New Girl. He's a science teacher, and he does some other neat things here and there, and he's pretty funny, and I liked him in this too.
I liked how straightforward he was at the end. He said, we need to settle up, stay off the ice.
It's time to go.
Yep. So, and he doesn't last very long.
No.
Don't know what the creature is that eats him, but he gets eaten. So we end up on this ship.
Yeah, they named it Ravanax.
The Ravanax.
They're giant dinosaur walruses.
I mean, we know what type of creature it says. It's called a Ravanax.
Yeah, the Mithril says Ravanax. Oh, Ravanax.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
4 times, and I'm just
they're like these
up.
giant walruses. Like I consider them giant dinosaur walruses. That's what I looked at.
Dino walrus.
It's awesome looking creature. I loved it.
So they're trying to take off, and of course, Mandalorian guy has to shock it in order to get it to let go of the landing gear. But so they go into the cockpit, and I guess it's a Star Wars swear. The Mithril says, "Dank Farik." That was close. I don't know what that means. So I watched it with the subtitles on. I guess it's just a Star Wars thing, and maybe someone will be like, "Hey, you guy who doesn't know anything about Star Wars, Dank Farik means this and a tease or something." I don't know. But he does say it. But the beautiful thing.
Go ahead.
When the, what'd you call the walrus?
The Ravanac.
I'm the walrus? Nice. When the Ravanac's holding the landing gear and the Razor Crest won't take off, what sound does it make? Choo, 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 which the Millennium Falcon sound, which is actually the sound of one of those old school airplanes.
Yep.
Which actually takes us back to Indiana Jones. And did you know that? That's where they got that sound effect is used in the original Raiders of the Lost Ark when he says, "Start the plane, Jacques." Start the plane. And you know what the call sign is on that airplane? It's C3P, I think, or C3O. Yeah. And it was a nod Spielberg was given to Lucas. Anyway. So it makes the Millennium Falcon sound when it doesn't work, which is awesome.
So what was the potential swear or whatever?
Dank Farik.
Is this a good point to take a quick Mandalorian break and talk about our other conversation from yesterday?
Yes.
Episode 4, A New Hope.
I don't remember what our conversation was.
Greedo.
Oh,
added line.
So the Disney Plus controversy.
Yes.
We were less than 24 hours out of the gate. So by Wednesday afternoon, by Tuesday night, people were talking about this.
Can I say this real quick?
Say it.
I love Star Wars fans.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what happened? The Mandalorian's out, awesome, and then someone's like, "Now I'm watching episode 4," and you know these people have episode 4 somewhere.
I watched Phantom Menace last night.
Yeah.
Phantom Menace.
I watched episode 4, and so this came about, and I hadn't noticed it right away. Well, I hadn't watched it yet, but somebody right away started this controversy, and they said there's a new line.
In what scene?
In the Han
the
Greedo
famous
scene.
cantina scene which Lucas ruined by making Greedo shoot at Han. Because it was never correct to say Han shot first. It was always correct to say Han's the only one who shot.
Yeah.
In the first version, Han shoots, so there is no Greedo shooting. But now, Disney has, what they add?
McClunky.
McClunky.
So,
I don't know why. That's so weird.
I took...
Who yells it, by the way? I hadn't even watched it. Is it Han or...
No, Greedo.
Greedo says McClunky and then shoots it.
So Han says, over my dead body. Greedo says, that's the idea.
I've been looking forward to this a long time. I bet you have.
And then he says McClunky.
What?
After he says that's
the idea. Does he not say I've been looking forward to this a long time? And Han says, I bet you have.
I think that's earlier, isn't it?
No, that's when he shoots him. He says, yeah, I bet you have. And
then he says McClunky.
Then shoots McClunky.
So I'm wondering if, so when I heard that, I took, and there's no, the whole time he's talking, you have
McClunky.
You have the captioning to tell you what he's saying, but for McClunky, when he says those, whatever that phrase is, there's nothing there. And
McClunky.
So I took it as you're toast, you're fried, you're dead, I've got you, it's over, something to that nature.
Thank for Rick.
In which case, it was appropriate for Han to react and shoot. So there.
Oh no.
Well.
Yeah. What?
They created a sort of a workaround for...
No.
They can't take it away at this point.
Why can't they?
Okay. They can. They're not going to take it away at this point. Okay? So they added something in to be like, here's the final thing where it was very clear he was going to kill him. So Han shot first.
It was very clear because he said, over my dead body, and he said, that's the idea. That was clear.
Well, the whole time he was talking about Jabba taking his ship.
Right.
Jabba not, Anyway.
We need this podcast to become famous, and we need to get 6 billion followers, and then we're going to use it as a platform to restore the Greedo Han scene. We're getting rid of McClunky, and we're getting rid of Greedo shooting at all.
And we're starting this revolution,
and
that's why this is
Here
chapter
is
1.
the seeds of the rebellion. All right, Resistance Reborn.
That's right.
Yeah, which, by the way, I can't get through. I'm trying.
You haven't finished it yet?
No, they...
Get to it. What happened? Disney Plus come out? You started watching
Mandalorian?
Mandalorian?
Yeah, that actually is exactly what happened.
I told you. I said it the day before the Mandalorian came out. I said, you have to finish this book today or you're going to be in trouble.
You were right.
And I finished it the day
before. So we're on the Razor Crest. That's the type of ship. I don't know if the name...
That's not the name.
Yeah, that's the type. And our Mithril friend points out, it's pre-Empire. Oh, it's a classic. And that guy talks a lot.
Yep.
Kind of like me. And then he says he has to basically go use the vac tube. And we get to see a little bit of the inside of the ship. And it is what we would call Spartan. It is utilitarian.
Yep.
There's a cot in the background you can see, which I guess is the Mandalorian's bedroom. You see the vac tube, which is, a bathroom, a toilet. And then he starts playing with the buttons on the wall. And it opens the weapons chest.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yes.
I thought this was hilarious.
So,
because the guy's reaction is,
nope.
No, he immediately closes it.
He closes it.
And you can tell he's like terrified that he found the Mandalorian's weapons stash. And I love that because, your initial thought is, okay, now I'm armed and I can fight back. And he's like, nope, sorry, I found that. But upon rewatch, the Mandalorian is not outfitted completely, not the way we see most Mandalorians, especially from the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
What's he missing?
Missing,
what?
What are you looking for?
There's no jetpack. There's no
your
missile.
jetpack. Yes.
There's no backpack at all on this guy. And it was a couple watches before I realized, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's like the signature piece along with the helmet and the gauntlets is the backpack. He does not have a jetpack. So I'm wondering when that's going to come up. And we see some Mandalorians later on in the episode. They don't have them on either. That worries me. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So he gets down to the weapons chest. He's terrified, so he closes the weapons chest.
Yep.
And he says, was hoping to get home for what?
Life Day.
Life Day. November 17th, I believe. Is that
November 17th, Life Day. November 17th, 1978 is when the holiday special first premiered. And Wookiee Life Day was a celebratory day on Kashyyyk. And it was celebrated November 17th. And now you can actually go on StarWars.com and they've got...
Lumpy.
We need to add that to the countdown. We should have. Life Day is 3 days away.
It's 3 days away.
And
so
they've got recommendations.
Life Day
like Wookiee cookies and...
And
other
the
stuff.
stocking, our bandoliers are hung by the back.
Whatever they've got there.
Care.
So he says, "Guess I'm not going to make it home for Life Day," and
the guy says something like, "Guess not,"
yeah.
which was awesome because he pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I love that. So I've watched, like I said, 4 times. I watched that scene, and every time I'm like, yes.
Yeah, there he is. And then he puts him
so
against
spooky.
this kind of wall thing.
Oh, it's a little portable
It's the
carbon.
button.
What do they call it? Frozen carbonite?
Carbonite freeze chamber.
It's got a portable one. And that is so spooky, though. I love seeing the guys frozen in carbonite and the mithril guy looking at each one.
Yeah,
that was good.
and I got to tell you, those guys are
good.
all going to suffer from hibernation sickness.
They are. I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Who is this?
So I'll say
loves you.
it is someone who loves
They're
you.
probably not going to wake up that well.
So this carbonite freeze
Yeah.
seemed like a risky business in episode 5.
I was going to talk about this too.
Yeah.
It was also a
It could harm
gigantic.
them. He won't be any good to me dead.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they were really concerned about freezing them.
Dead. Yeah.
And that's why they tested it on Han.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey,
nuts.
this worked. Right? And I assume in the time that he was with Jabba, they saw this working.
I'm going a different route. I think that this was always a standard practice, but the facilities at Bespin were not designed to freeze humans. That they were designed to freeze industrial materials, and that was the question, not whether or not you can freeze humans in carbonite or people or creatures or whatever, but whether or not that particular setup was designed to do it. Because that was a mining station, so who knows what they were freezing? Probably not people. Mm-hmm. So that's my explanation of what happened there. Is they reprogrammed it to create something like what these portable little suspension chambers do.
So I'm trying to play in my mind what the
Nailed it.
Trying to play in my mind what the conversation was. I do not want the Emperor's prize harmed.
Yeah.
So at what point?
Yeah.
Tested on Captain Solo. He's no good to me dead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You'll be compensated.
I guess either way, I feel like, and that I thought was silly too. The Empire will compensate you. Well, then why don't we just leave Han frozen here and just give me the money? Like, why did Bubba leave in the first place? I mean, I guess he had his reputation.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think he was because he worked for Jabba.
Yeah, the reputation made sense too.
All right, so he freezes them, and now we get to again another unknown planet, and we get to what I'm assuming is a bar that caters to the Bounty Hunters Guild.
Yeah, is that the Bondsman's Guild? They mentioned the Bondsman Guild later on. Are they linked?
I would assume they're the same thing, actually.
Okay, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Because they just keep referring to it as the Guild, and then later in the episode,
and we meet Apollo Creed.
yeah,
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight. Anyway, you said you had some things to say about the Creed
yes,
Karga.
yeah, go ahead, do that because
So he walks in there, the Mandalorian walks in this bar, and he's got his fobs, which, each one is used to track down whichever bounty you're working on. And the fobs are there to prove that he's actually caught these guys out along with having them. But he turns them over to get his pay. Now, what's interesting to me is when, I'm just going to probably call him Carl Weathers, or should I call him, because I don't know is it Griefa or Grief? I don't know. Griefa or
I think
Grief?
it's Grief Karga.
So Grief. So Grief then orders one of his guys to offload the cargo. Did you catch what language he spoke to him in?
No, Huttese. Right?
Huttese.
Yeah.
So I guess that's just the language for that sort of business.
Yeah, this
So I thought that was interesting because neither of them are Hutts, but he's speaking Huttese.
He does, and this all kind of played out in a second. You called him what when you first saw him?
Griefa.
No, before that.
Apollo Creed.
You called him Apollo Creed. In 2015, there was a Creed movie.
Yeah,
he wasn't in it, but
no,
it was based on
his son,
his family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know who wrote the music for that?
Yes. I don't know. I was going to guess Nick Nolte.
No, it was not Nick Nolte. It was actually the same guy that made the music for The Mandalorian.
I don't know who made the music for The Mandalorian.
I guess Ludwig, right?
Beethoven?
Ludwig Göransson?
Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah. He did the music for The Mandalorian here
There's
and
an
the music
umlaut
for Creed, which is an interesting, just a little mashup of characters here. So
it's a small world after all.
Yeah.
All right. So he tries to pay in Imperial credits.
Yeah, he does.
And the bounty hunter's response is, don't know if you've heard, but the Empire's no longer here, something like that. So then he ends up paying him with calamari. I forgot what it's called, but it's calamari, money. What did you have something you want to say? Because when we were watching this together, you were like, oh,
yes, I've got some frustrations here. All right, so the guild seems to me kind of like almost like a workers' union. Like they're the place that they get their jobs. People that want bounties send them through the guild, and the guild distributes the jobs to the different bounty hunters. Is the way that I'm kind of seeing the guild happen.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a bounty hunter agreement, whatever. But everything seems kind of be a mess. Kind of a mess. He tries to pay in Imperial credits.
Yeah.
Which didn't make much sense. If they're collecting money from the people who actually wanted these bounties, he then is like, well, I've only got this amount. And I don't, like, this whole predetermined amount for these bounties doesn't make any sense. It's really strange. It seems like he's working for Grief Cargo, right? Like he's kind of a middleman.
Yeah.
To set the.
I think Grief is the middleman.
But the money change in hand seems really, really.
I think this is significant. I don't think this is a problem of the setup.
All right.
He tries to pay him in Imperial credits.
Right.
And when Mandalorian kind of balks at this, he says it spends. And then he sends him to a guy who's simply called the client, who it turns out is an Imperial agent. You don't suspect that maybe Grief is working for the former Imperials? That's what I came away with. I'm like, they're trying to salvage this. He's trying to legitimize the money. He's sending them on a mission for the Imperials.
Maybe so, but it still seems like I guess. And then he's like, well, I can pay you in the calamari.
Yeah, whatever they called it.
Gills, I don't know, whatever they said it was. And they're like, I can pay you in this, but
he didn't want to at first.
But only half.
Which is interesting because it shows you, I think they're trying to underline that the Empire, elements of the Empire are struggling on, but it's not working.
I like that.
And I think I really actually think this is paving the way for understanding what we're going to see in Rise of Skywalker, to be honest with you.
Okay, so this could, This conversation kind of helps. It might actually work. Because he says when he says, well, what about other jobs?
Yeah.
Right? He goes, well, the highest I can pay is $5,000. He says, that's not even enough for gas.
Yeah.
Right? So, there are no legitimate jobs except for this one.
You notice.
He's pushing him toward this job, I'm thinking now.
Yep.
Because he says, well, they don't want to pay guild rates, meaning they don't mind getting sloppy.
Well, it's a setup from the very beginning.
It has to be, because if they're not paying guild rates, then what are you talking about these low-level bounties? None of that makes sense.
I think there's
that kind of.
I think there's two sides to this. It's a setup from the beginning, meaning the client, as he's called, which is Werner Herzog, the actor, who we'll talk about in a second. He was expecting the Mandalorian, and he even says, "You're the best in the parsec," is what I'm told.
He said he was.
So you're right. Grief is intentionally paving the way to send the Mandalorian to go see this guy. But on top of that, he says, what bounties do you got? And he's got, jump on, smuggler. And then he, says the prices, and they're too low. And then when the Mandalorian questions why this is, he's saying, well, people are sloppier these days, which tells me that people are operating outside the guild. They're just simply, it's lawlessness is what they're underlining.
They're willing to hire bounty hunters individually instead of working through the guild.
Well, not only that, but it's lawless. So they're underlining that the Empire has fallen. The Republic has not politically, legally been able to replace it as a stabilizing influence. The currency is not holding its value. I absolutely love it because I think in that one conversation, they really give you kind of insight into the state of the galaxy. And the Mandalorian does too, because the fuel prices are going up, but the value of money is going down. So this is interesting. But so did you want to say anything more about that? Because we know the next step is he goes to see the client.
Yeah, because that was the other thing. He's like, well, the next one's face-to-face, direct commission, like all of that stuff, and that kind of fits. I like your explanation. Like he was pushing him into that.
Yeah, it's a setup, man. Which makes me think that Grief is not necessarily a good guy. I think he's working for the Empire.
That sounds legitimate.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, Carl Weathers.
All right, so I haven't seen this.
Going, baby.
I haven't done a slow-mo watch. My son said the first time he watched it, he thought he saw an Ewok walking around.
I saw Jawas.
So look for it if you think you see one.
Let us know. Ewoks.
I haven't done the close inspection look. It would be surprising, but that's why He goes, "Whoa, was that an Ewok?" It was a quick thing. We didn't go back and watch it again. We should have, but it was his first watch, so we were just continuing to watch.
So we end up at the client's place.
Yeah, and we get a tracking fob.
We get a tracking fob, and what he doesn't have a puck.
No puck.
He says
discretion dictates.
No puck. Well, what did he say about the chain code? Did he say there was or wasn't one?
Well, Grief said there's no chain code.
No chain code.
And the client gives him the last four digits.
So what the Mandalorian's answer is, so we only have how old he is, which suggests that there's some sort of identification system that the Empire used to use. I guess it's kind of like, I don't know, our social security numbers, and that it's a government database. They put in that number, and they get all this information about you. But I was saying to Tim earlier, I think it's more like a VIN number, vehicle identification number on a car. Each number says something about the car. It says the color, it says the year it was made, it says where it was made. If you know how to read it, then you can get all that information just from a VIN number. And I guess that's what a chain code is for people in the Empire. But he's only got the last four digits.
Yeah, just that age and his last known positional data.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about this meeting with the client.
Yes.
He goes to the front door.
And we see some beat-down looking stormtroopers.
You know what we see before that? We see a TT-8L Y7 gatekeeper droid.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, which is, again, fan service, but like you said, it's just natural to the plot.
Yeah.
Little thing opens up just like on Jabba's palace and, pokes its little reticle out, and that's a TT-8L Y7 gatekeeper droid. So that was really cool. And then he goes in, and then he sees four really worn-out looking stormtroopers guarding a dude who's got some massive bling on. What's he got on? He's got that big gold chain.
Big gold Imperial sigil on his
right on his chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's looking like what's the guy who used to wear the clock around his neck? I can't believe I forgot his name right now. But anyway, and then we get a tense moment. Doctor comes in there. They pull guns on each other. So this guy's name is Dr. Pershing. And there's another great line here where the stormtroopers, say, well, we got you 4-1.
I like those odds.
So we got some tough talk there. And the client, calms him down, offers him this job, and then offers him a piece of Beskar.
Yeah, he does.
Now, this is interesting. I think there's a lot.
Do we know it's Beskar, though?
He says it's Beskar.
Oh, and the Mandalorian checks it, right?
Yeah.
Because he rubs his thumb on it.
But it's got the Imperial symbol stamped in it. But what the client says here, I think, might have multiple meanings, because we know, spoiler alert, that the target is this Yoda type species, right? So spoiler alert. We know it's 50 years old, but it's still an infant. But we don't know this till the end of the episode. But I think what the client says at this is a little bit of foreshadowing, because when he gives the Beskar, and Beskar, remember, is unique to Mandalorians, when he gives it back to him, he says, I think it's right that it go back to the Mandalorians. And the actual quote is, to restore the natural order. And he says this to him.
After a period of such disarray.
Yes.
Yeah.
After a period of such disarray, we're going to restore the natural order. I think he's talking about killing this Yoda creature. I think that's what he means when he says this is to restore the natural order. That the Beskar is just simply a symbol that he's using to communicate this larger message.
Okay. I heard that as the Empire coming back into power.
Both, I think.
Yeah.
Because I got some theories on this Yoda baby.
Yeah,
what are we going to call this thing? Yoda Baby?
I have Yoda 2.0.
That's right. I like that. Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Yoda 2.
I want Yoda 2.0 for now.
Yoda 2. Make it sound royal. Yoda 2.
Yoda the second.
Anyway, Dr. Pershing makes it clear he wants this creature alive, and the client makes it clear that maybe dead's better. And then he actually says, "I'm just being pragmatic." But we find out from IT11, IT11, whatever, his orders are IG, say. Not information technology.
No, IG11.
IG11, he wasn't told to bring him back alive.
No, and I wonder if he was even hired the same way.
I wondered that as well. Yeah. But we're jumping ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But the doctor, and we don't know what he's a doctor of. I'd love to know that. He clearly wants this creature alive, and the other guy clearly has some hesitations. So that takes us to our next scene. He gets his Beskar, and he leaves. And this is one of the more amazing scenes. Where does he go? And this is where we see some really kind of more fan service. We see the Salacious Crumb creature.
Yeah, this is the scene. It was right before Salacious Crumb that my son thought he saw the Ewok.
Well, that's where we saw Jawas. Definitely.
Right, I know the Jawas were there. We saw a lot of stuff. So they're all there. We see the Salacious Crumb creature. Did you notice the one that was still alive in the cage?
Yeah.
Clearly a puppet.
Yeah, well,
which was really cool.
I loved it because I thought it meant that, well, no, they're not puppets. This is just what they look like. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't all CGI.
Like, we could make this look more real, but no, this is what they look like.
This is what they look like.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because it looked a little bit more natural. Like, I was like, yeah, that's Star Wars. Like, and they said that. They said, we want to make this a show for everyone, and I think they're really working hard for that. And that was really cool.
But it goes into this kind of dark place, and at 18 minutes and 32 seconds, he's walking down a hallway, and there's several Mandalorians in there, and we see someone, and who does that look like to you, Tim?
It looks like he's wearing a little bit of red, a little bit of green in his armor. Kind of has a fat feel.
I paused this so Tim could confirm what I was thinking, and this guy looks like Boba Fett.
Really does.
Yeah. So like one of the guys, he's the second Mandalorian you see when the main character walks down this hallway. You'll see one guy in kind of a white uniform. It's hard to tell because it's really dark in there.
Yeah.
But then the very next guy seems to be wearing like the green, gray with the browns. In the yellow gauntlets. It looks like Boba Fett. Now he doesn't have a backpack on. But it looks like Boba Fett. But we see little kids run by, and they're wearing helmets, which that's interesting because of the comment that the Mithril guy made earlier about, I hear you guys never take your helmets off.
It's really interesting because from what we've seen in the Mandalorians in the past, we've obviously seen many of them without their helmets.
Yeah, in the Clone Wars.
And Death Watch and in others.
Which Dave Filoni did.
Right, so he's got, he knows what he's doing.
There's continuity, but we haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
So he goes and he sees the blacksmith who is called the Armorer. Yeah, and now, any thoughts on the armor?
A
lot of thoughts, I know.
This is spectacular.
What do you think about that helmet, first of all?
The helmet was cool. That was...
I'm a historian. I can't get past... And I love this. This isn't... it's Greek.
Yeah.
The style of that helmet, it could be Mycenaean or it could be Spartan.
That's what I was going to say. It looked like Spartan helmet from 300. That's exactly what it looked like.
It actually looks exactly like the faceplate anyway. There was a Mycenaean tomb at, I want to say Knossos, where they did find a gold funerary mask of King's helmet, and that helmet looks exactly like it. So it's cool. It's plucked right out of the history pages. I like the little horns on it.
Everything was really cool there. And
the dialogue here, I think, is pretty significant.
Yes. So the first question... after
we see the Mythosaurus skull on her door.
Yeah,
which
looks like that's made out of Beskar too.
Yeah, it does.
The look of that looked like that was made pure out of Beskar, which is a kind of. And they could have made a lot with that.
Yeah,
and I feel like that was a show of this is who we are.
Yeah, they
belongs here
quite
first because they're very
that.
Into clan and family and tradition, and I think that
which we learned on our last episode, our last podcast. But they reinforced that with a lot of the language they use here.
So she says, "Has your signet been revealed?"
Signet. She says signet. I looked at the when the words are on the screen.
The captions, but the way she pronounced it was a little.
Or
different.
she either says signet or sigil. Either way, it means family
signet,
crest.
But she says signet is the way she pronounced it, I think.
Okay, so signet, yeah, which is your family crest.
Right. She said, has it been revealed?
Yeah, not have you figured it out.
Right.
Yeah, and that's interesting because he says no, he says no, and then later he says I was a foundling.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to learn where they're going with this.
Yeah,
because what house is he? What's his backstory? Of course, as she's forming the pauldron, the shoulder armor, there's a flashback going on there.
Yeah, well, she says this came from the Great Purge.
Yep, which I assume is the Purge of the Jedi.
No, this is the Purge of, I think this is the Purge of Mandalore. I think this is the Empire taking over Mandalore.
Good, and that's what I wanted to ask you, because I'm like, if it's Purge of the Jedi, it doesn't really make sense, but I don't. Okay, now
because I think that's what was happening, and I think he was a child during the Empire taking over Mandalore, and every time she strikes the hammer against this Beskar steel that was from the Great Purge, he sees those flashbacks.
And he's remembering that, so he apparently survives because his parents hide him, and I guess later someone finds him, thus the foundling.
Right.
So whoever finds him, maybe they know his house somehow.
Somebody must go back and search for survivors after the fact. Because it seems like the Empire's just there wiping people out.
This is so well set up.
Yeah.
So now what's interesting is, I guess he has leftover Beskar after she makes the pauldron. Is that what she means? Or is she talking about the money? Because he gives her the money too, which tells us he's not working for money. He's working for the clans, for the houses. And since he's not associated directly with a house, he's working for Mandalore.
Which would explain a little bit more about, I'll take whatever.
Yeah.
Give me the money, I'm just going to go, I'm not going to deal with this.
Yeah, you can, again, with his ship, they make it a point to go, okay, this is not a rich ship. This is kind of a cheap, older ship. So he's not working for his personal gain. He's working for Mandalore. And, so I love how this scene kind of underlines that aspect of selflessness.
Yes, that was really cool.
I like it. Oh, I love the show already.
All right, so he's got his new shoulder plate.
He's got his pauldron.
And he's going to leave.
Time to leave. Time to follow open our leads.
Yep. So he goes to a desert planet?
Another unknown planet.
We don't know what it is.
And now I will finally be right when I say Nick Nolte. That is Nick Nolte, the Ugnaught that he meets.
Yeah.
So what do you think about his, he gets out of his ship, he gets his rifle up, and he's scanning the horizon with his scope. And of course, what happens?
He gets bitten.
And what is that reminiscent of?
Does he get?
I think it's reminiscent of Luke. Yeah, it's sand people, all right. I can see one of them now. And then all of a sudden,
it's right there in your face. Yeah.
So I thought it was reminiscent of that. I also thought it was interesting that he couldn't take that creature out. Do you think, was he showing restraint?
I think he was stuck.
Well, he tries to flamethrow it, which was so cool.
Right, that was awesome. But then that gets taken.
But then he starts punching it in the eye with his left hand. Does he not have any weapons on his left gauntlet? I don't believe that, first of all. Second of all, no, he grabs him by the right arm.
I think the grapple's on the left arm, isn't it?
The grapple's on the left arm, but I would think he'd still have more than just the grapple.
Well, the grapple
Boba Fett had his blaster on his
though, if he had his hand by the eye. The grapple.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Well, not only that, so then when Nick Nolte's character, shocks and it collapses and he's trapped with his left arm in this creature's mouth, and another one starts charging, he could pull his pistol, but he doesn't. He just holds his hand up like, oh no, I don't know what to do. And I didn't know what to make of that, because I'm like, is he trying not to kill these creatures for some reason? Because I feel like he went down way too easy in this fight.
I think at the beginning it was fine, but I see what you said about the second one. I think everything in the first one, he was taken by surprise.
He's literally waving his right hand at the second one as it's running at him. And I'm like, you're a gunslinger. The pistol's right there by your right hand.
Well, he's also a Mandalorian who's very used to using his tools, and if maybe he was, I had to look at it again to see if he was trying to access the tools and not realizing it was broken.
Well, his left gauntlet's destroyed. I didn't notice whether or not his right one, which is the one with the flamethrower, was. But he uses the grappling hook later. But all right, so we meet Nick Nolte.
Yes.
And what's his little catchphrase?
I have spoken.
I have spoken.
It was really cool. So it was like his way of just saying, this is the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
And I never took it as, I have spoken, so this is law.
No.
Like, at first it sounds that way, but what it became was, I'm done talking about this.
Yeah,
like,
it seemed like an expression to me.
It was cool. It was like, I've spoken. I'm done talking.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we go through the taming of the blurg. Those were the names of the creatures that attacked them.
Yeah.
He said, I want half of the catch, or half for the day. And
yeah.
he thinks he's talking about the bounty. He's talking about those blurgs.
Yep.
And the Mandalorian says, you can have them both. And he says, oh, no, you'll need one. And it was cool how he kind of talks him into it with this, because he knows with the statement of family and clan and who the Mandalorians are. Because he was like, no, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And he said, your ancestors did what?
The Mythosaurus.
Yeah.
They rode the Mythosaurus.
Mythosaur. Yeah, it was really cool that he used that and was like, you're going to do this and you can do this.
And there's several times where he does that sort of thing, where he says, I've never met a Mandalorian, but if what they say is true, that sort of thing. There's a very Yoda-Luke type scene there when they're in his hut and the Mandalorian's a little too big for it. So he's just kind of sitting there while the guy kind of putters about.
Yep.
Now it's got a much different feel. But I did like kind of, again, I thought there was a little bit of fan service there.
Yeah.
Makes you feel nostalgic. So they ride across these broken plains.
I thought that was awesome. The broken plains were really cool. Like,
yeah.
The blurgs were a little weird, but
yeah.
I didn't have a problem with them.
No.
But I thought the riding across was awesome. This was one of the points where I thought the music was really good.
Yeah.
Like, this was a point where the music really stood out to me. I was like, hey, this is great.
Because, I meant to, the other part where the music, I think it was Slave One, Jango Fett's ship, and Attack of the Clones, where you start to really hear the type sound when these ships would go by. They incorporate that into the music, and you notice it. Well, the first time I really noticed this is when he's flying to that planet, right before he gets out and the Blurg attacks him. They show his ship flying into the atmosphere and then flying over the terrain, and it's making this noise. And you can't tell if it's the music or if it's his engine noise. And I love how they blend that together because it speeds up and it slows down, but again, it matches the music. So really, really well done. I liked it a lot.
Yep.
Not surprising that a Star Wars show would have good sound effects.
Yeah.
So they get to the compound. Dun,
Yes.
dun, dun.
So they called it the encampment.
The encampment.
Right? That's what the Ugnaught, we don't know his name, right? I don't think we ever heard his name.
I don't think we ever are told his name. Nick Nolte.
Yep. So he leads him there, and then he goes down, but then he can't do anything because immediately he goes, oh no.
Oh no. There goes the element of
droid.
surprise.
Yep.
A bounty droid.
Bounty droid.
IG-11.
Yeah, he goes in there and... So
Yeah.
we've seen an IG unit before, right?
Yeah, we have. We've seen several.
Well, we've seen several, but of this model.
We saw IG-88.
We saw IG-88
which
and
was the
IG-11.
bounty hunter on Empire Strikes Back.
So as of right now, evidence shows there are only 10 bounty droids.
10.
Yeah, they have the double numbers. IG-00, IG-11, IG-22, up to...
What about IG-100?
Well, those are a different model.
Yeah, they are. If you don't know,
this is not canon. I'm just
having
fun with the numbers. Math.
IG-100s are the ones that protect Grievous that are really cool.
Yep.
That when Obi-Wan Kenobi cuts its head off, it keeps coming at him.
Yeah, it does.
IG-88, of course, we don't actually see him in action. We just see him standing on the bridge of a Star Destroyer in Empire Strikes Back. He's there with the other bounty hunters. And this is the first time we see, I think, an IG droid in action, unless it's on one of the Clone Wars or Rebels episodes. Because now that I say that, I think there was a factory guarded by these in one episode.
You talked about, you talked about IG-88 a little bit. We were having a conversation the other day about
Legends?
what happened to him in Legends.
Yeah.
And we don't need the long story, but just the short. What ends up happening?
Supposedly he gets downloaded into the Death Star computer.
And I wonder if they used that idea later on.
Huh.
One of our more recent movies. In fact, the most recent movie that's come out.
Yeah, I thought about that too with Solo.
Yeah, I didn't even think I didn't put the two together.
As a matter of fact, as soon as I saw that, I thought of that story with IG-88.
Yeah, I hadn't
downloaded.
heard that story before the other day with you, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
So it's, again, they're tying in the Legends ideas. Like, those Legends ideas aren't gone.
So we're
using them.
We're gonna enter into kind of a pretty epic battle here.
Yeah.
Where the Mandalorian with IG-11 take on this compound of What are these guys?
I don't know. I can't figure it out.
And
I was really trying hard to
mystery.
Figure it out, but not look it up.
Are they the good guys or the bad guys?
That's the big question.
I mean, I'm going to be predisposed to thinking the Mandalorian's a good guy. But then you mentioned this to me, well, the Empire just paid a bounty. So he's fighting enemies of the Empire. So these kind of have to be the good guys.
Feels like they're good guys. I can't tell if they're
or maybe they're like crime syndicate who got involved in this somehow.
They could be 60 pirates holding something hostage, or they could be...
They're protecting a baby Yoda.
Are they protecting it, or are they holding it captive?
Well, they didn't hurt it.
Not yet.
Yeah, you're right. They could be holding it captive.
We just don't know. And I'm not saying I think they're bad, and I'm kind of hoping they're bad so that our Mandalorian can be good.
He just killed a bunch of people.
Because that's a lot of people, yeah.
I think IG-11 actually killed more, but...
Right,
he went to town,
but that doesn't lessen his crime.
I don't know if we need to spend. Do you want to spend any time on the fight?
Not a whole lot on the fight. The fight was really cool.
This conversation.
Yeah. I mean, go watch the fight. The fight was really cool. The biggest thing about the fight was the self-destruct.
That was droid humor done right.
Yes.
Because in Attack of the Clones, we see droid humor done wrong. Yes. With C-3PO, I've lost my head and all this other stuff. What a drag. Don't remind me that ever happened. Here we see droid humor done right. It actually has more of a Marvel feel. It's got that, it's funny, but it's like you said, it's natural. The droid's just like, okay, initiating self-destruct. No, don't initiate self-destruct. And he has to tell him that, I think, 3 times in the fight, not to initiate self-destruct. Great fight scene. I like the way they wrapped it up with him, taking control of the turret.
Yep.
So I also like they blast their way into the door, although there is one little thing here that makes me like, oh, come on. They shoot, the door in such a way to create an outline so they can kick it down. There isn't enough time from when they finish shooting to when they kick it down for him to have got off the turret and run over and kick it. And for some reason, that sort of thing bothers me.
I had 2 pieces with the turret as well. The one guy who was jumping off the building who got shot, which was fine. That's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But then there's another guy who gets shot toward the end and falls forward.
Yeah, that's not how that happens. Well, there is another thing, and this is what I told y'all, if I don't like it in Star Wars, I'll say I don't like it. In the middle of the fight, a guy opens the door behind the Mandalorian and just puts his hand on the Mandalorian's shoulder.
He pushes him.
Yeah.
He pushes him a little bit.
I'm like, you could have shot him.
The first time I saw that,
or even hit him with a brick.
I swear I saw him grab and pull.
No,
it was just in my mind because this is what must have happened, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, that's how I remembered it. And then the second time I saw him, he just kind of shoved him.
Because it doesn't make sense. So your brain's trying to make it make sense, but no, the door opens. The guy's totally got the drop on the Mandalorian, and what he does with that moment of surprise is basically tap him on the shoulder.
Hey, here I am.
Hey, I'm behind you if you want to kill me too. Literally could have hit him on the head with a rock.
Yeah.
Of course, he's got a helmet on, but you get what I'm saying. He's the only guy there without a gun. I guess that's what...
He didn't have one in his hand. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, maybe that guy was taking a nap and he came out to, hey, what's going on, buddy? And then the Mandalorian killed him.
Yeah, maybe that's why I wrote... No, that's not why I wrote that. I'll tell him that later on.
We don't know what you wrote.
Yep.
All right, so we're finishing the show. We're in the room. They find the little egg. Of course, before that, a guy walks out and the Mandalorian does his gunslinger routine and shoots the guy. I love seeing that.
Yep, that was
There's
really
so
cool.
much Old West feel to this.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
There it is.
But they find the egg-looking device pod thing, and they open it, and there it is, Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
And of
really
course,
cool.
the Mandalorian's like, he's supposed to be 50, and IG-11 is like, well, different species age at different speeds.
Yep. And now I'm going to kill it.
And he raises it. We see a blast. We see the red of a blast. You know what I did notice? Every blaster in this is red. Because in the movies, you see red and green. Mm-hmm. Oddly enough, it's the Empire who uses green blasters usually.
Right.
The IG-11's weapons were old Empire weapons. He had one of the Stormtrooper long rifles and one of the short blasters. So I don't know what's going on with the colors of the blast. But anyway, we see the red blast, and next thing you know, IG-11's laying there with a giant hole in its head. So is he irredeemably dead at this point, you think? Because he's in the trailer more, or somebody like him.
I don't know where his central wiring system.
Yeah.
But his trailer, I think we saw his trailer stuff.
I thought there was one more scene, but I could be wrong.
I think we saw it all.
I was wrong
what we didn't see out of the
time in
trailer
my life.
was the fight with the stormtroopers.
The Death Troopers? Oh, or the Stormtroopers.
The stormtroopers,
Both?
yeah. So now we come to this end scene.
Gus
So
Fring.
he kills IG or destroys, whatever.
He shoots IG-11 in the head.
Right, IG-11's down.
He's down.
And he pokes the baby.
Out.
Right?
Pokes the baby.
I don't know. He puts his finger out. And
Yeah,
the baby
the
kind of
little
reaches
baby
out
hand
for him.
reach out.
So I put poke. I figured poke the baby. So he saved the baby here. And now we've got a question.
Not mama.
Back to the is he good or is he bad or does he care at all?
Well,
Right.
he refused to kill the baby, but why?
He was also. So here's the question. I'm going to go the bad first.
Yeah.
If he's just in it for the bounty,
Yeah, he gets more money if the baby's
he
alive.
gets more money if the baby's alive.
Yep.
So
So maybe he's in it for the money.
that's the first part. He could be good. Then the question is, if he's good,
We did
is
start
he
the
saving
episode
this?
with him killing a man who was trying to run away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the guy attacked. And I'm not saying it's good to kill for any reason, but whatever. So we're meant to celebrate him here, but we need to know why. Because he might know the uniqueness of this creature,
He might.
in which case he saved it for that. He might know he might have just looked and said, I understand 50 years old, but this is a baby.
It's a baby.
And he used to be a foundling. He knows what
He
it is
was
to be
a foundling.
lost
You're right.
and, then found. So there could be a piece of that there.
Baby.
I don't know. I don't know why he did that for Yoda 2.0.
Yoda 2.0. And that's where the episode ends. He saves the baby from IG-11, but like Tim just pointed out, we don't know why. Profit motive or humanitarian, whatever. But now let's get to theories.
Yeah, so
Theories. So we recap the episode. We got a baby Yoda.
we do. It's
This is
awesome.
a big deal. And they make a point of telling us how old baby Yoda is.
Yes.
And guess who he is the same age as?
Same age as.
He's approximately the same. You do the math.
Who's he the same age as?
Anakin.
Oh, yeah?
Who's Anakin's dad?
Anakin doesn't have a dad.
Anakin doesn't have a dad. Anakin was meant to bring balance to the Force. Anakin and this Yoda baby are born around the same time. Oh, you see where I'm going with these thoughts?
I do see where you're going with these thoughts.
Maybe this is the balance we've been looking for. That this is the light side, and Anakin was always the dark side. I don't know. But maybe this is a baby born of the Force.
Interesting.
Just like Anakin was supposedly born of the Force. We might have a Yoda baby born of the Force.
Now, I will say
This is all my theory, by the way. I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah, this is excellent. Like, I hadn't thought about that at all.
Well, I kept thinking, I'm like, why do they keep saying 50? And I'm like, is that Luke? Now, Luke's only maybe 30 at this time.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized, wait, that's about how old Anakin is.
Well, and some of that was to keep, I think, the secret of not knowing at all what we were expecting at the end.
Yeah.
Who to find. But yeah,
There's definitely that.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And I'm assuming Force sensitive. And
yeah.
some of that
Yoda
might
baby.
be coming from, this was...
Yoda baby, you're the one.
I'm amazed at how much I love this episode without Force use. Right?
Oh, that's a good point.
I'm a Force lore guy.
Yeah, you are.
It wasn't there. So this is really great.
That doesn't surprise me because some of my favorite Clone Wars episodes are the ones about
Right,
clones.
when I know that for you,
yeah.
yeah. But that was different for me.
I like the
so that was really cool. So different theories. I'm leaning toward good, and he's going to try to save this thing.
I think so too.
I'm thinking that's why we've seen in the trailer the fight with the stormtroopers.
Yeah, and I think we also would, getting very meta, I don't think Disney is going to try to sell us a title character who's a bad guy.
Right. And I'll tell you, they can't get a puck on him.
They can't get a puck on who?
On the Mandalorian.
Because they don't know what he looks like?
That's right.
Yeah, they just show a helmet, I guess. We don't know what he looks like at this point. I mean, of course, if you look up the actor, you know who that is.
Yeah, Prince Oberyn.
but yeah, as far as the show universe goes, we haven't seen his face.
Yeah.
We barely heard his voice. Yoda baby. So Tim was saying, I like saying Yoda baby. I find that very catchy. That you were thinking they didn't have a puck on Yoda baby because they were trying to save it for the audience. But I actually think, and that's a good point. It might actually just be the case. It was for the shock value. They couldn't get a puck. But I wonder if in the Star Wars galaxy, how well-known Yoda's story is. Like, because that's the one thing George Lucas said that he wouldn't allow Legends to touch. He wouldn't, even in canon, they didn't really touch it. There's only one other Yoda-like creature ever, and that's in Episode 1, Yaddle. The female, version of
She's
Yoda.
on the council, right?
She's on the council.
And then she's just gone.
And then no explanation, no story. And Lucas apparently was kind of holding on to this origin, Yoda origin story. So, yeah, I'm wondering, in the Star Wars universe, do they also, is Yoda's origin still surrounded by mystery, or is there a planet of Yodas out there and people are like, oh no, he's just another one of these guys?
It seems mysterious.
It seems, I think the Mandalorian, this episode reinforces the idea that Yoda is truly unique. And I love it, because it's Yoda baby.
Yep.
It's Yoda baby. And
right,
maybe he's born of the Force.
I want to change gears here for just a second.
Well, that's our recap. I think we're done.
We got some comic books.
Well, I mean, we're done with Mandalorian Chapter 1.
Yes, that's what I mean.
And Mandalorian Chapter 2 comes out tomorrow, Friday.
Friday.
And we will be back on Monday to talk about it. We'll have our podcast released Monday to talk about that.
Absolutely.
But now it is time for comic book talk with Tim.
So I'm not going to go too much because, again, we went pretty long here, and this was our basis. I am going to get us caught back up on comic books. I want to talk about them. I really, really do. I'm sorry for those who are listening and comment on the comic books.
Papa Bear.
We like them. The Star Wars comic book is ending. The Star Wars comic book has taken place between episodes 4 and 5. It's been a lot of fun. And they're about to do a Hoth-based couple episodes, couple issues. And then episode 5 is what will happen. And then in January, it will restart at Star Wars number 1 with a basis of between episodes 5 and 6. So that's going to be really cool. Stay tuned for that. We'll talk a lot. The Allegiance book. I was actually a little upset about the Allegiance book. It finished really well, but I'm afraid that it might have given me more information about Rise of Skywalker than I wanted.
Fear leads to anger.
Yeah, I'm getting a little angry too. So I don't like spoilers, and I feel like it gave us a little. If I'm thinking the story is going to go where it's going to go, or I think it's going to go, then they may have given us a little bit too much in this last episode of Allegiance. I keep saying episode. This last issue of Allegiance. So if you are not interested in spoilers, don't do that. I'm actually not going to say anything about it beyond that because
I don't want to know.
I don't want to.
And I have to listen to Tim. So
so that's where we're at for comic books. We got something coming out today.
We do?
I don't have my list. I don't know where my list went. We've got another book coming out today. I'm going to go to the store in about 20 minutes and get it. We'll talk about it
20 minutes from now, because y'all know what time it is. Okay, you know what time it is. It's time to wrap up.
Yeah.
So on Monday, November 18th, we will be back with our next podcast installment, dealing with The Mandalorian Chapter 2. But I guess that's it for today, right?
I think so.
So for now, I'm Jim.
And I'm Tim.
And this is Our Certain Point of View. Have a good day, everyone.
Audio 1.